Is Benjamin Netanyahu evil? It's a question whispered in cafes, debated in parliaments, and shouted in protests from Tel Aviv to New York. To some, he's a patriot, a hero who defended Israel against enemies, stood up to world powers, and refused to apologize for survival. To others, he's a manipulator, a man who fueled division, used fear to win power, and hardened the conflict beyond repair. But who is Benjamin Netanyahu really? And how did one man become both a savior and a villain in the same breath? Born in 1949, just a year after Israel itself, Netanyahu grew up in the shadow of history. His father was a historian. His brother, Yoni, a soldier who died leading a rescue mission at Entebbe. For Bibi, leadership wasn't ambition, it was destiny. He studied in America, spoke flawless English. He learned the language of power and how to use it. When he entered politics, he brought with him something Israel hadn't seen before: a master of television, a communicator who could charm one moment and crush the next. And from his first term in the 1990s to his return decades later, Netanyahu built a reputation as a survivor. He outlasted rivals, outsmarted enemies. And in his eyes, survival wasn't selfish. It was sacred. To his supporters, Netanyahu is the protector. They say he kept Israel safe while surrounded by hostility, that he strengthened the military, modernized the economy, and brought global recognition to a small nation once isolated. He signed peace deals with Arab states that once vowed never to recognize Israel. He stood before the U.S. Congress, warning the world about Iran's nuclear ambitions. He refused to bow, not to Europe, not to the UN, not even to American presidents. To them, that isn't evil, that's strength. A man who puts his nation before the world, no matter who gets offended. But to his critics, Netanyahu is something darker. They see a man who turned politics into theater, who used fear of enemies to keep voters loyal. They accuse him of dividing his own people, pitting secular against religious, left against right, Jew against Arab, until unity became impossible. They point to corruption charges, to backroom deals, to attacks on the judiciary, and say this isn't leadership, it's control. To them, Netanyahu didn't defend democracy, he bent it. He didn't preserve peace, he postponed it. And every time peace talks collapsed, every time settlements expanded, every time trust eroded, they saw his fingerprints. So is he evil? Or is he a reflection of his world, a man shaped by wars, trauma, and the constant pressure of survival? Because Israel isn't an easy country to lead. Every decision is moral and military at once. Every choice saves someone and angers someone else. Maybe Netanyahu didn't create that reality. He just learned how to master it. He knew how to speak to fear because fear is power. And power, in his hands, was always the goal. Inside Israel, the debate is endless. Older generations call him a defender, a man who made Israel rich, strong, and respected. Younger ones call him a divider, a leader who cared more about staying in office than building a future of peace. Even now, as he faces trials and protests, Netanyahu remains defiant. To his enemies, it's arrogance. To his followers, it's courage. He once said, "If Israel is not strong, Israel will not survive." That line defines him and divides him. Because what if strength comes at the cost of compassion? What if survival demands walls higher than hope? So, is Benjamin Netanyahu evil? Maybe the answer depends on where you stand. If you see Israel as a fortress surrounded by threats, he's the guardian. If you see Israel as part of a broken peace, he's the obstacle. History will judge him, not by his words, but by what he leaves behind. A safer nation, or a harder one? A legacy of defense or division? Because the truth is, Netanyahu is neither angel nor demon. He's something more dangerous. He's human, a man who believed the world was too cruel to be gentle, a man who traded dreams for strength and never looked back. And maybe that's what makes him both Israel's greatest protector and its greatest paradox. So tell me, is Benjamin Netanyahu evil, or is he just the leader his world demanded? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this story made you think, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because next time we'll dive into another question that changes how we see power, politics, and people. Remember, evil isn't always born. Sometimes it's made by the times we live in.